We'll start this meeting at 6:04. The Raleigh Human Relations Commission, December 9th, 2021. And we will start with the member roll call.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Mary Thompson.
Here.
Bertha Alchikar.
Here.
Keith Carlson.
Here.
Wonderful. Byron Laws. Absent. Crystal Hill Melvin. Absent.
Crystal
Jim.
Hill Melvin sent me a note. She will not be attending. She has a class.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Jim Mello.
Present.
Present. Thank you. Let me just do this real quick. Okay. Gabriela Magana is here. Richard Averett.
Here.
Thank you. Tati Padilla. Okay. Absent. Tori Dixon.
Here.
Thank you. Zubaida Khan. Absent. Eric Solomon.
Here.
Hello. And alternate Tim Longest.
Here.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, let's move to, thank you very much. Let's move to approving the agenda. I sent out the agenda last Saturday, on the 4th, I believe. Anyone have any updates or changes that they'd like to add to the agenda?
The agenda, no, but is the budgeting allocation, is that part of the agenda or no?
I was going to add that in. I will make a comment about it, but we'll discuss it in January. So I will make a comment on the budget document that I sent in our last meeting that I did not get to. So I will make a comment on that. Thank
Okay,
you.
but it's not part of the approval, correct? We're not approving.
No,
any-
we're not.
Okay,
I'm just going to make a comment about the fact that I'm going to make a comment about it, and we're going to discuss it in January when we have the other information to make a true discussion.
Sounds good, thank you.
Any other comments? So we're adding a budget under chairman report. I will make a comment about the budget document. Other than that, any others? Motion to approve?
What? Problem?
Hey, Mary, I just want to come off mute real quick to actually, let you all know that I am here to verify my presence.
Thank you, Byron.
I'll move approval of the agenda. If you need a motion.
Yeah.
I second that motion.
Anybody, any issues?
Sorry, but I'm having trouble connecting with my computer, so I'm trying.
Okay,
So I'm so sorry.
we have you, Tati. Thank you for joining. Any issues with the agenda? We have a motion and a second. Everyone approve? Any against? Any against? Okay, the agenda moves forward. I will go to the approval of minutes for November. Does anyone have any comments, changes, updates that are required for the November minutes? Hearing none. Motion for approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Second,
Okay, Tati seconds. Do you have that?
I move approval of the minutes.
And Tati seconds. Everyone in approval, say aye.
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 Any nays?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll move that. Move that. All right, so I just have a few items that I want to just catch everybody up on. And then we'll go to the, do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am, no public comment at this time.
Okay. All right, so in our meeting in November, I had attached a budget document. I should have put draft on that document. I looked at, and Tati actually made a comment on it, and I meant to get back to it and I didn't. I took a high-level stab at funding at a committee level. And if you notice, it comes out to 14,000, and we have more money than 14,000. But I know that we're going to need money for name tags for the commission. I know we're going to need a tablecloth and some other things that I know that the city of Raleigh is working on some templates for the boards and commissions to use. I don't know what that cost is going to be, so that's why it is not to the dollar. It's also not to the dollar because it's a budget, and it's a stab at where we could spend our money, allocate our money to each of the committees. I've asked the Community Relations and Celebrations Committee and the Diversity Relations Committee to come in January with their a high-level project plan, dates, what the event is, where it's going to be. I don't expect it, we don't of course expect it to be, but we need something to, how much money we think we might use. And then we can have a discussion about these numbers in a more intelligent way. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Thank you. I had mentioned in November that I was asked to participate in a panel to interview the candidates for the Equity and Inclusion Director. I did participate in that panel and look forward to the results of the series of interviews that the city is having with these candidates. I don't believe they're done. The Human Service Grants for FY23 was announced on December 3rd. I think I sent in my note, or if I didn't, we're looking at the last 2 weeks in February to be interview times. Also, the Grants Committee is going to meet early January to discuss some options on how we actually do the interviews. They'll be done virtually, but we're trying to, I guess, scale it down so that it's not so time consuming to the whole Grants Committee, but that's to come. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
The North Carolina has their local HRC meetings every quarter. The next one is December 14th. You all should have received an email on that. If you did not, let me know, and I'll make sure that you're added to that distribution. The National Day of Racial Healing is January 18th. The Diversity Relations Committee is working on that. And actually the flyer, I just received the flyer, so things will be coming out for that sometime. Well, we're already at Thursday, so I'm going to say early next week. You'll start seeing information on that. All right, I didn't want to take any, does anybody have any questions? I didn't want to take too much time with that, but I did want to make sure I updated everybody for the information that I had. But anybody have any questions on what I just talked about or need some more information about those items? All right. All right, so let's go to the conversation that we're here for today. So we've had some prior emails that went through, so I guess we'll, in our conversations, we'll refer to some of those comments. In reading all the emails, I want to get your thoughts. This is how I'd like to go through this. First, I'd like us to talk about the resolution. Irregardless of who sent the resolution or the personalities around the resolution or how it's going to be administered and all that, I think we should go with, how are we feeling about the resolution? Are we supportive of the resolution? Then we can have a conversation about who's sending, where it's coming from, and then and then who's supporting it. I think it's chunks. I don't know. Do you agree with me? Okay. All right. So let's just talk about the resolution. Now, Keith has sent edits about the, instead of it's, to Keith, you want to make comments?
Well, I'll just say, I don't think I can support it in its current form, so I wouldn't vote to approve it tonight, the way it's written. But the first comment was, I think it appeared to be, was saying it's like directed at the city council, which probably not the intent. So
Yeah.
if you want to apologize for what the city council has done, specifically, you could give instances of that. If you just want to apologize for Raleigh's involvement in various things over the centuries, then, it should say Raleigh, not it's. It's not the
I
city
agree.
council specific. That was one thing.
Yeah.
And I agree with, I think, Bert, I think that we should leave out the governor and the legislature and try and focus on, if we're going to do anything, do it for, specifically directed to what Raleigh and the local government involvement has been in whatever. So that's another thing.
Okay.
And I think it should be more specific. There are specific instances of things that the local government has done, including urban renewal, that we could call out specifically what has happened, and make this more of specific instances of things that we identify as being wrong.
Okay. If you all remember, when I first sent this out, the question was for us to look at it and see if we had any edits or comments or changes. So if this is what we're doing, this is fine. They are not, no one, I don't have the feeling or the knowledge that this was ever, they came to us and asked us our comments. So that's fine. How does any reaction to what Keith said of comments of changing to Raleigh and also being more specific to the city of Raleigh?
I'll mention, so in our meeting last month, I noted that I really did like that it calls on the governor and the legislature to acknowledge this resolution. And the reason for that is because we are part of one of the statewide HRCs. And so to me, that there's relevance for us to be connected to other HRCs across North Carolina. However, that being said, I am very open to making this resolution work for us because we do represent a lot of different perspectives within the city of Raleigh. And so I'm very open to taking out that aspect of the governor if people feel more comfortable taking that out in order to move this forward.
Other comments?
I mean, I personally, so it's kind of interesting, Keith. I'm curious what so you're saying that the language where it says at the very bottom, now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Raleigh. So your problem is that it just says the city council?
Right. I don't think, I think this is more intended to be a more general apology than just for what the city council might have done.
Right, but isn't this a resolution that
That's,
they're hoping that the city council adopts?
Yes.
So that's what that's why I don't understand, because I mean, it's asking the city council to apologize. I mean, because I mean, I can't apologize for something that, my wife has done. I mean, I could try, but that's not very effective. Right? So for the city of council to apologize for something Raleigh, I mean, it's the city council is the city council, and they're the ones we're asking to adopt this resolution. So I don't know.
Some of the things they're apologizing for certainly predate the organization of the city government. They probably predate the city council. So I don't think they're really apologizing for what the city council has done, or this
It's for the
city
city.
council. They're apologizing for things
for
that
the
were
city of
done
Raleigh.
by the city of Raleigh in the past.
Mhm.
So
Right,
that makes it,
so maybe the language could just be changed. So the city of
yeah,
council apologizes for, actions, that the city of Raleigh may have taken. in the
yeah, I
past.
think it's more the city of Raleigh rather than the city council.
Yeah,
Because
it's never been, and if you look at the other resolutions that are in across the country or in Asheville, that's in North Carolina, it's about the government. It's not personally against whoever's sitting in the chairs. It's bigger than who's sitting in these chairs. It doesn't matter who's sitting in the chairs, but they are at this point representing the city of Raleigh.
Right. And that's sort of what I'm getting at, is just sort
Yeah.
of, I mean, these are the people we're asking to issue an apology.
Right.
So, and I think and it's not, I mean, I personally like on the language of calling on the state of North Carolina, and the governor and the legislature. It's not saying we're apologizing for you, but we're asking you to also take responsibility for past actions. And I think that's extremely important. I mean, I think in one of the emails, someone was mentioning about, taking action as opposed to apologizing. Well, I do a lot of civil rights work. I do a lot of what are called 1983 actions, where people whose civil rights have been violated, primarily by the police. And I can tell you, half the people that I represent, it's not about how much money I get them. It's about getting an apology. It's about owning up to what you did. So the action of getting dollars, yeah, sure, that's great, right? And my firm just won that $2 million settlement with the city of Raleigh, for that police officer that was planning, fake drugs. That was our case. But I can tell you half those people were just excited. They were kind of pissed off that there was a little bit of lack of accountability. Now, there's some back end stuff that I can't really talk about there. But anyway, the apology is a lot of times the big thing. It's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
we can ask, this is the Raleigh Human Relations Commission. We can ask Raleigh and the government of Raleigh to apologize for its role, but, we're not going to get far with the governor and the state of North Carolina. And
That's not, but
it's
to me,
not
that's
focused at all. But
Richard?
Yeah, I mean, and Jim, I'm in agreement with you. And I made that comment about action over apology. And, and again, I prefaced that with, I haven't walked in other people's shoes, right? But I'm wondering, is that the theme or the purpose? For example, if you go on their Facebook page now, they had a Thanksgiving thing where it was basically an apology to Indigenous people, which, okay, that's accurate, right? But is that something that's done on every Thanksgiving? Or is it, this year we're donating our time and resources to helping this Indigenous group?
Richard, may I interrupt you? Are you talking about the city of Raleigh, or are you talking?
Friends of Raleigh, forgive me.
We're talking about the document.
Oh, okay.
We're not talking about we're only talking about the document.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments about the document? So
I do have some comments about the document I'll make at some point.
go on.
So I also have comments about the process to make, but just as an initial matter, as to the substance of the resolution, I think that we should probably acknowledge that this is basically a reparations resolution. That's what's been passed in Durham, and that's what's been passed in Asheville, and that's what the introduction to the document explicitly references. I don't see that there's that much of daylight between the term reparative justice and the term reparations. I do realize why they changed it, probably because it's I guess more politically it might make more sense for Raleigh to not use the term reparations. But in substance, I think if you're apologizing for something and then also making policy changes as part of that, I mean, that is a reparative process, a process of reparation. And I'm not in principle opposed to a resolution that endorses reparations for the city of Raleigh. I just think that if this commission is going to endorse one, it needs to do so in a thoughtful way, in a way that will ensure passage through the city council, first of all, and one that will be successful in the long run in attaining the policy goals it sets out. So this resolution, I do agree with the comments Keith made about changing it from the city council to the city of Raleigh. I think the city council is authorized to speak for the city of Raleigh, and that's what we're asking them to do. I think that this resolution also calls for establishing reparative justice commission. Again, I don't know that we need to use the term reparative justice, although we can if we want to continue using that. But I think if we're going to be making policy changes like this does contemplate in point 6, we need to be doing much more factual findings about the actual history of discrimination in Raleigh by the city of Raleigh that would support that. And so I would ask that the resolution be changed to call for the creation of a commission to study the history of discrimination in Raleigh and to make recommendations on policy changes to remunerate that history, if that is indeed what we're trying to do with this resolution. That's all I've got for now.
Any other comments? Oh, sorry, Rabbi Solomon.
No problem, So just a couple of things I want to say briefly. One is that in general, I'm very supportive of this resolution, and I'm proud that we are bringing this forward or has been brought to us. I have a procedural question because I also could get into the details of the language and some of the pieces, and there's some very legitimate criticisms of the language. But I'm curious. I have a question about procedure. If we go in, get deep into the details and rewrite this exactly the way we'd like, which itself is a challenge of the group having worked in their context like this, what then happens? We pass it to the city council. Is it possible they will then go do that again?
No, there's a coalition. There's a group that they've got as co-sponsors. They're still working on other co-sponsors to come on to this document. We are, for me, we are being part of that coalition. So we would give our edits to the group.
To them.
Yes. And
I
as that,
see. So we give our,
yes. Because
so yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so it's us supporting this, but we're not supporting this by ourselves. There's other people inside of Raleigh that are supporting this also. And so City Council gave this to us. I look at it as, we're supporting them to help them with this, with language, as people have pointed out, because we have some great lawyers sitting here that can wordsmith to it appropriately, to what is the appropriate process to bring a resolution to City Council, the names that we have, how is that, should be that presented. There are things that we can do to help this get to the point that it's presentable to the City Council in a way that we can be successful, that we all can be successful. That is my thought to this.
Yes, no, that's very helpful, Mary. I just, as a new person, I'm not a little confused about the procedure. So just to be clear, we take this, we offer our edits back to the groups that signed on, and they consider whether they would like to accept our recommended edits. And if they don't, presumably, then technically, possibly, we wouldn't sign on. But if they do, they would. But this is the question I guess I have here is like, every line, and we can go into it's hard to write this as a group. It sounds to me like we'd have to have some procedure for how we determine what those edits would be and how we get consensus on them. Don't have to answer that right now, but I just see that that's a complex problem, which leads me to my last point, is that I'd be curious to have actual examples of the Durham and Asheville resolutions that were recommended or whatever they were. I haven't seen those yet.
They're online. You can look them up. Or you can Google it.
Articles about them, but I didn't find the actual resolution myself. Maybe I just don't know where to look.
Oh.
I can look right now to see if I can find them. If I'm able to find them, I will share them in the chat. If anyone else has access to them and is able to share, because yes, I agree with you, Rabbi Solomon, that would be very helpful.
And then, so I guess what Eric was saying is that, that if, let's say we propose some changes and edits and things like that, and it goes back to the group and they say, nice try.
I don't think
I'm just saying, just as an example.
They're looking for our help.
Right now, but I'm just saying, because there's what, like 12 different organizations or something. I didn't count them all, but it seems like at least a dozen. So there's a lot of people involved. And so there's our group of people, and then they got their groups of people, and then you bring all these groups of people together, and it's a mess. But my point being is, they might accept some changes, they might accept all the changes, they might not accept any of the changes. So my main question is worst case scenario, they say, we don't like any of these changes for whatever reason. We've discussed those issues before. Here's our reasoning why we think it should say it this way. Do we then come back and vote if we're willing to accept it as they've proposed? I'm just saying worst case scenario.
Yeah, this is first time I'm going through this too. So my thought would be that we would come back as a group, because I'm hearing 3 different edits, right? Jim, Tim, and Keith, right? Are going to now edit this document. My thought is that we give it to them, that if they come back and say, we don't like anything, we would have to have a discussion about that.
Okay. Just to be clear, I was more just trying to clarify what Keith was saying.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I think in general, I'm in agreement with the thoughts that Keith was presenting in regards
Yeah.
to the city of Raleigh. I was just trying to clarify that.
I didn't hear anything from the three of you that was in conflict.
Yeah.
I just heard betterment to make it better, but I didn't hear conflict. I don't know if you three did, but I didn't hear that. But not being a lawyer, I don't know. Tori?
Oh yeah, I didn't. Well, but I'm in agreement with it, substantively overall, and I think that I think all of the edits make sense as well. I guess I'm sort of curious of what we've done in the past that's similar to this, which I guess is, I don't know if we have.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're breaking ground.
Well, okay, I think everybody knows that where I stand on this. I've made it very clear, but Tori, to answer your questions, we've never had that since I've been on there, and I checked with Chris Mutos, the vice chair that was on there for 8 years before Mary. And I was asking his opinion about what he thought about this. And he said they would have dismissed it before. However, it's, new things come up and we can, it's a new day and we can always discuss it. I am in agreement with Keith on maybe possibly changing the city of Raleigh. That would make sense, as opposed to the city council themselves. So in the edits, like Tim and everyone else agreed to, I think it does need a lot of edits. In addition, maybe add actionable items. It does need to be written, okay, for example, Tim, you were talking about a police officer that was planting whatever. I think that's something absolutely needs to be addressed. That's something that's tangible, that's here. It's a real issue in our community that we can do something about. But just to apologize, that's not enough, first of all. If they do apologize, it's going to be a thing like, I'll apologize to shut you guys up. That's not a thing. Is do something about what's happening in our community. Yes, absolutely. I'm in all agreement. So we do need to rewrite this. The other thing that concerns me most is that they're saying, okay, all these groups are behind it. Well, is there a petition?
We'll get to that next.
But this concerns the document. So I'm talking about the document. So we need supportive documents that support what they provided. So I need all that before we can make a decision on the actual wording. And again, it's not our place to go to the governor. Read all the stuff. We go to city council. City council decides whether they want to go to the governor or not. We just recommend to city council what the community's needs are, or what they want, the unprotected groups or the underprivileged groups, kind of like Richard was saying. That's our role. It's not our role to go to the governor. We don't have that card in our hand. So there's a lot of things that need to be written. I'm happy to, spend time to rewrite it as a group, all of us, and help them co-sponsor it. But to say that this document is sponsored or co-sponsored by these people, just taking their word for it, we're going to look like jackasses. Who is sponsoring it? Show us the names, who's doing it. So that's my 2 cents. And just because Asheville did something, that doesn't mean we have to do it. Different crowd, different people, different council, different commissioners. So we need to be a little bit more cautious in moving forward with this.
All right, thank you. But if you look at number 6, there is an actionable. They are asking for a commission. So there is an actionable in this document. I don't personally, getting into things that happened yesterday, I don't think that's appropriate, but I will let the edits come. And so are we in agreement to edit this document and return it to the coalition that sent it to us? Are we in agreement for that? May I have a vote for that?
Aye.
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 Any nays?
Aye.
My only question with the nay is like, I'm not saying I vote nay, but I just want to know, like, what's that timeline for the edits? And then how
Yeah.
much editing is going to be done.
Okay,
Because it sounds like that's going to be where there's a lot of fruitful discussion.
all right. So the edits, I heard Tim, Keith, and Jim.
And me. I had my microphone off, sorry. And me.
Edits are you proposing?
I'm with them on editing this document before we move forward.
No, but what they proposed actual edits, what are your proposed edits?
Oh, there's like from 1 to 3rd page, all of it. I mean, there's a lot of it that needs editing. There are some things that are said in there that don't even make any sense. So it's not time to do it right now. Honestly, I'm missing a huge event just to make time for this. And we only have 1 hour. So I think we need to move on to the other.
Well, I'd like to hear what your edits are, as Tim and Jim and Keith has mentioned.
I've
So
already
an
sent it in
idea.
writing. I sent it in writing on there's so many on this level. It needs to have actionable items. It's not just apologies. That doesn't do anything.
All right.
The create a commission, that's not an action. It's just like a proposal to create a commission. And
Okay.
actually we meet once, this is just ideas. We meet roundtable with the community that is concerned with this. We need to act as far as meet with the NAACP for once every quarter. They have to do that, for example. They need to listen to their concern or something like that. That's an
This is
action.
this is not this is not their concern. This is a white person's concern.
This is a white person's concern? Okay, so the other problem would be, to me, my problem is if they're speaking on behalf of Black people, for example, African Americans, then why aren't the African Americans speaking?
There are African Americans on this list, Berta.
There is a couple of people listed on there, groups that I don't see where the documents are.
They are not finished getting sponsors for this document.
Again, it's not clean. It's not a straightforward thing. It needs to have who is on there. And it says just these list of people. But who are these people? I don't know who they are.
I do.
Well, you do, but that doesn't mean we do. So we need to have the information. Who is on this? How many? 25 people, 30 people, the preacher, the congregation, who is on there?
Let me address that. You sent me a request Monday to ask an organization to get all this documentation by today. That's impossible. That's just rude. What I did, I have a life. I was busy.
Not rude.
Let me just explain to you.
Sorry, you're calling me rude, and I'm not going to stand for that. It's a legitimate request. We are trying to gather information for this meeting. So no, it's not rude. I'm sorry, I disagree with you.
Okay, fine. I had my days planned. I had things that I had to do. I did send them an email and ask them for their process in how they received sponsorship. They sent me an email with their process. I will send that to everyone. After we agree that we want to work with them to move this forward, we will ask for more detail. But to ask somebody to give that much detail in one day it just was not possible. I'm not saying we cannot ask for it. I'm just saying for this discussion to be asked in a few days, it just didn't work.
Okay, but to be fair, Mary, we were supposed to make the decision this week or for this meeting. Then they want us, they're giving us 2 or 3 weeks because they're presenting on the 18th, correct?
No, they're not on they wanted to, they are not listed on the agenda.
Okay, I just wanted
for us.
That was our understanding, that we had to make a decision tonight because they have to present on January 18th. That was my understanding. So that's why I feel
I have asked this, I have asked us to make a decision if we are supporting this resolution. That's all I've asked.
Can I say something? Just to sort of Bertha's concerns is, I mean, I think, and Bertha, again, maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying and what you've written, you know, because you're talking about you want actionable items because an apology isn't anything. And I as I mentioned earlier, I do disagree with that because for a lot of people, an apology is the thing they want.
Yeah.
Because it just emotionally is. And so I do respectfully, completely disagree with that statement. But two, you know, if you are asking for action items to be involved in this resolution, well, then what you are asking for us to do is to adopt a document that is specifying reparations.
Right.
Well, to get to that is exactly right. What you're saying is exactly right. Requires all of this research and all of this work and background. Well, that's what this is asking for. It's asking for a commission to do exactly what it is you're asking for, to take those actions, because it does require all that work that you're asking for. And what we're trying to do is just get to the point. I think that's what that's my understanding of this document, is we're trying to get to the point where the city actually does take action.
Right.
To get to there, the city has to adopt something like this to start that process. So this is that seed. This is barely the seed.
And we're not the ones to do that work. We're not the ones to sit on that commission.
Yeah, but if we want to back it up, we need to have our opinion in it. We're not just saying, yeah, sure, we'll go along with this. Yeah, I mean, it's just every single piece of, I read it 25,000 times. And this document just doesn't make any sense to me. I would love for somebody to come and explain it to me paragraph by paragraph and see where I'm wrong. But, you know, we need more information, like you said. I agree with that. We do need, before we make a judgment. And the good thing is, it sounds like they don't need it in January. That's a great thing, because we can take our time to research it a little bit more. So
Well,
if we're
the thing is, Berta, we're not going to research. This is going to take a long time. That's why you need a commission. You need a commission with people that have the education, have the background to do this research.
Mary,
We're not researchers.
Mary,
Well, I'm not.
I'm talking about researching to see, like you know, for them to give us who is behind this, who's backing up, how are they co-sponsoring this resolution? How many people signed up? What I asked for, the document with the signatures behind it. That's what I was talking about as far as research.
Tim, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess we're kind of moving to the process discussion a little bit now.
Yeah.
I do share some of Berta's concerns. I think that the community that brought this forward is very well intentioned, but I definitely was hoping to see, you know, more diverse voices and organizations that have, you know, a stake in racial justice work.
Exactly.
On the, you know, signed onto it already before it came to us. So that was a concern of mine. I did see the Friends of Oberlin there, which I appreciated. But for example, the Raleigh Apex NAACP, I would be very interested to know what they as an organization think about this before the city council adopted the resolution.
Wait, there you go back to, it's got to be. Okay.
Sorry. And my view of this commission's role is that Councilmember Forte referred them to our commission because she felt, I mean, this is just my assumption, that she felt that this commission would do the work of gauging not only what those individuals already signed on to it would support, but more broadly what the communities of interest in Raleigh would support, so that it was more of a finished document when it came.
Yes, that's my understanding. Helping them get to the point that it's a more complete document.
Sure. So we shouldn't, I think as a commission, feel like we have to, you know, defer to their, you know, their timeline, which I think you've already suggested.
There wasn't they had made this timeline. I had told them, I had talked to them about that. I went, you know, city council only meets once during the month. There's lots of things that need to happen before you can talk to city council. They weren't aware of that. You know, this is a, you have to look at, this is residents that want to move an issue forward and they're looking for direction and help. As I am, and I'm asking, before I forget, I want to make sure that I ask that, what are the requirements for the backup? Like, we can see that they have people that have sponsored some of those people in those organizations. I personally know, but what is it that the city, so I'm asking Travis to find out, what do we give them as guidance for the appropriate format, information that the city of Raleigh would require in a resolution that is presented? Because I don't know that. And for me, I'm looking at this as I am giving them support to help them and this coalition, whoever winds up being in the coalition, support to have a complete, as Tim was saying, presentation. That's what I'm looking forward to doing. And that's what I'm looking forward for the Human Relations Commission to support.
So Mary, it looks to me like the heart of this is calling for a reparative justice commission. So before we start editing this, I mean, we sort of agreed on removing the state of North Carolina. It also calls on public and private organizations, which, you know, I don't disagree with, but if we're going to produce a resolution that calls on the city council to create a reparative justice commission, I think we should take out number 4, it's paragraph 4, which calls at least move it to the bottom, so that this the city council apologizes for Raleigh's past bad things that they did. It calls on the city council to establish a reparative justice commission. It calls on the city manager. So that I think that's the heart of this resolution. We want the city to create a reparative justice commission and look into what should be done to try and atone for what happened in the past and maybe make things better in the future. So before we start editing the document, I want to be sure that this commission is in favor of that. I mean, maybe we should discuss whether we really are all in favor of creating the reparative justice commission before we just trying to change the words in the resolution.
Well, that's why I brought up, are we in favor of the resolution?
Well, have we voted on that?
I thought we had. We were all.
Well, I'm not sure we did. Did we vote on editing this resolution?
We didn't vote on the resolution. No, we said we were going to talk a little bit more about it because it's something we couldn't vote on it last time because it was just too time intensive where the meeting was almost over. This is what this was supposed to be.
Secretary, did we vote? I thought we voted that
I thought we voted to edit this.
No, we didn't vote. We voted to edit.
So I have that we voted to, yes,
Discuss
we
it.
like this resolution with edits. And I have Tim, Keith, Jim, and Berta on that group of individuals to edit it. That was when I spoke up and I said nay, and then the conversation went on.
So let's do a timeline of when the edits will be done.
So I further edit, I would think I would remove the public and private organizations part.
That's an edit. That's it.
Right. I think that's a good thing, but I don't know that this really is what, you know, we want the city to do. It's kind of something else, which would be a good thing, but not something the city council could do.
So I disagree with that. The reason for that is because the city has a lot of private-public partnerships, one of which is with housing. housing is huge. CASA is one example of a nonprofit where you have public-private partnerships that is addressing serious housing issues. And so I feel that because the city of Raleigh is very invested in the private sector as well as the public sector, it's necessary. I think it's very necessary for that.
I mean, I think health, you know, education, housing, I mean, all of that stuff, that was all public-private.
Well, the education, there's plenty that this county commission could do, but they're in charge of the school system. So they don't mention that in the resolution, but the county commission has plenty to answer for too. So
can I have a timeline on edits?
Well, I guess, Mary, before that question would be, are you envisioning sort of the four of us who keep getting called out, which is fine, getting together and being like a little committee and doing the edits together?
Yeah, either that you send each other and work it out in this committee and work out the edits.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's fine by me. I'm on board with
Tim?
that.
Yeah, I'm on board with creating a committee to draft one or more proposed resolutions. You know, it seems like there's some disagreement about what the substance of the resolution should be. So it may be that if there is a committee, they're come out with more versions.
Okay.
Than just one.
Keith?
I'm willing to work on that.
Okay. And Berta?
I'm all in. You guys just let me know. We'll meet up and give you a real hard line, a date if you want, Mary.
Yeah.
I would like to propose for Richard to be on the committee as well, and possibly Crystal. And we can ask him. Richard, are you still on there?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you be okay being part of the committee or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Crystal isn't here, so we can't put her on a committee.
Well, yeah, I can ask her later if that's okay.
Travis?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to add, so Berta, I certainly understand the idea of having more perspectives on that committee, especially with something that's as sensitive as, the conversation that you all had this evening. One thing that I would caution to be wary of is that when you have too many folks on one committee, you get very close to achieving quorum. So as you continue to kind of add on, I think at that count, you would be at 6 of 13 commissioners. And I say 6 of 13 because I didn't get a chance to mention this earlier because you guys went straight into business, which is great. So Tim is actually not an alternate anymore. So Tim is a full member of the commission. So with that said, Tim being on that committee, he would also count towards that grouping. So my advice and direction that I would give is that you limit it to somewhere between 3 to 5 if you can do so. That would be the direction and advice I would give.
Okay. I'd like that that this committee present at our next board meeting in January. Is that?
I think Rabbi Solomon has something to say.
Rabbi Solomon, sorry.
Yes, I'm gonna do something I always tell my congregants not to do, but I'm not volunteering to be on the committee, although I really bless you with it's challenging to go into a committee. What I am gonna ask is that you consider speaking to whoever created, thank you, Gabrielle, by the way, posting the Asheville version. I'd like to know the Durham version, and I think it'd be worthwhile to ask them, because I imagine some of these questions already arose. For example, it's clear the Asheville version has issues around private-public partnerships and things like this. I imagine they asked the same question. So even if we disagree in the end, which I'm fine with, because we should have a resolution that we feel the city of Raleigh meets, it might be helpful to have their expertise since they were down the road already. I'd like to hear what they have to say. So I'm just gonna let you give you a heads up when you come back with changes. One of the questions I'm gonna have the other two next to you and say, well, what did they say? I'd be grateful if someone could offer that perspective. But since I'm on the committee, that is just an offering, not a demand. Thank you.
I did reach out to the Asheville Human Relations Commission to ask some questions. That she hasn't responded, but I did send that out.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Started to think about, what kind of pitfalls did they go through? I did not do that for Durham, but that's a good idea too. They're right here. I could they're right here. All right. And my second thing is for Travis to find out the procedure and what's the proper, because we can say that they have, these folks that are on the list have signed up and, their sponsor, and as they've told me, they're ready to walk with them into talk to city council. But I think going back the appropriate way would be that I would like to know, what is it that we actually need them to have? Name, is it organization? Do we need that it's not organization and it's the people in the organization that sign? Is that okay at that level? That I think would be very productive. Because if we do, that's fine. I mean, I'm meeting with Pullen Baptist Church tomorrow. So if on Truth Racial Healing, on National Racial Healing Day. So I would like to go back to them on, this is what you actually need to have for backup. So that we're not asked later, oh, that's not in the right format. Okay.
Two questions. One, I think Keith wants to say something, but then
Keith.
also my question, I think it would be beneficial for us to decide on a timeline now.
Yeah, let's do that.
So for the 5 of y'all, I have Tim, Jim, Keith, Richard, and Bertha as part of this edits committee. How long do you think it would take to do quality work and present that back to the HRC?
January?
I'm asking for it by our next meeting.
Yeah.
I think that, for me, that's doable. I'm going to be around during the holidays, so.
That's reasonable.
Agreed. Berta, you okay with that?
And Travis, how long do you think you can get the information about what's appropriate for supporting documentation?
So if you will you send me a message with the specific questions that you have? And what I will do is, as soon as I get that message, I'll escalate it and push that up, because that is, to be quite frank, in terms of resolutions and expectations for resolutions, that's all new to me as well. Yeah. So
I just think I should go to them with the appropriate information, I think that makes sense. And then when I have that, I will then meet with the Raleigh Friends meeting to give them that information and also talk about their backup that they have now.
So I was going to say, I'm on the executive committee of the Raleigh NAACP. If you want, I could run this resolution by the president and an executive committee and see what they have to say.
Yeah, I'm a member too. So yes, I would do that.
Okay.
That would be appropriate. I have a couple.
That would be great.
I have a couple of organizations but my biggest thing is I can run it by the organization, but if we need people's actual names, I'd like to know that information.
Okay, I need to hop off because I'm in the middle of something anyway. I just took time for this. So it sounds like we need to come up with an edit within our group for next time, correct? We're not voting. Do you guys need me for anything else for tonight?
Don't think so.
Nope.
No.
Okay, so as a last note, Mary, I just feel like it's very personal to attack me personally when you say I was rude for asking for information. That's not very nice, or encouraging for other members when they do want to speak up. It's not very nice for you to call me rude when I ask for the information on Monday. If they have those documents, it shouldn't be that much trouble to attach them to an email and send them on. So I'm just saying that on a general note, because that's not very nice. And we are all here to do the right thing for our community. We don't need to be attacking each other personally.
I didn't mean to attack you. Rude is not I feel that we talked about this last month. If you wanted that type of information, it would have been more appropriate to give the organization, a few weeks to then come back to us. It's the timing of it.
That's fine. That's understandable. If that's your opinion, that's okay. I feel like that should have been asked from the get-go. But
you didn't ask me.
But still, even with that, I don't think that was nice to say that in front of the other commissioners on a recorded session. It's
Okay.
not very. So you're right. It could be, we could have needed more time. That's okay. It's totally reasonable to say, but to call somebody rude just because they ask for information is just discouraging for other commissioners to speak up when they do need to.
Okay. Appreciate your
All right,
feedback.
have a good night, everybody. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, so those are our 2 action items. Do we have next to any other discussion about the organization? About, I think by getting the direction from the city will help with the supporting documentation and who signs and how it should be done. Does anybody have any comment about that direction that I'm taking there?
I think that makes sense. My view of the organizations is probably that the council would care more that whatever organization endorses it, it passed through whatever internal process they have for, attaining a general group type of endorsement and not just a one-off, like a view of a single leader of an organization, for instance.
Anybody else have anything else about?
I just want to say, I really applaud this discussion tonight. I know that this is personally, this resolution is important to me personally. However, what I appreciate is people bringing their concerns forward. I appreciate these 5 people that have volunteered to be on this committee to put in that extra work. This has the potential to be very impactful to the city of Raleigh. And I think that is very important. I value everyone speaking up for their personal thoughts and for being very thoughtful with their responses. So just thank you for that. I am very much looking forward to our meeting in January and seeing, the couple of versions or maybe just one version that y'all come back with. So thank you for that.
I wanted to second that. I appreciate the fact that we can collaborate openly and we feel comfortable. And yeah, it's kind of rough sometimes and some toes may get stepped on, but this is hard stuff. This is not easy. And this is why we were elected to this position. So let's do it. I appreciate everyone's transparency and let's just make it right and do good.
And Jim, thank you for reaching out to your partner's son. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Ms. Mary, I would just echo what Richard and Gabriella had brought up. I think that working in equity on a daily basis, we realize that these conversations are weighty and that they're heavy and that people are passionate about the causes and these conversations. So I know that it was mentioned about tone setting for commissioners and things that nature. And I just want to make sure that I wanted to make space for, that idea and that notion that, these are weighty conversations and applaud the bravery of everyone coming forward and sharing their thoughts and their perspectives. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's thoughts and this means the world to me. So I am very passionate about this. And I'm very protective of organizations that come to us. And yeah. All right. So everyone have a wonderful holiday and New Year's. And you will be getting emails about National Racial Healing Day. You will be getting emails about anything that comes up on this that I might find out, or Travis, some directions that we are going in. I'll make sure I share everything that I know when I know it, as I've always tried to do. But anything that you want to say or email, please do. But please have some downtime and enjoy your families and the holidays that are coming our way. And I will see you in January if I don't see you and talk to you before then. Thank you all.
Blessings, everyone. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.